Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. Before we dive into this powerful episode, please remember to subscribe to our channels and give us a 5-star rating on iTunes to continue hustling. This episode is brought to you by Chiro HD, Evo Creative Media, 100% Chiropractic, Chiro Health USA, Imaging Services, Chiro Moguls, New Patients in a Box, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, Life Chiropractic College West, Pro Hockey Chiros, Pro Baseball Chiros, and the IFCO. You can benefit from our full list of sponsors by visiting our sponsor page at chirohustle.com/sponsors. Links in the description. Now let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 595 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. I'm your producer, Luke Millette, and here's your host, James Chester.
So today we had the opportunity of interviewing Dr. Annie Reyes. And if you want to hear the story about the potential of chiropractic and actually practicing with her husband, stay tuned for the full episode. Welcome back. This is another episode of Chiro Hustle Podcast. It's episode 595. I have Annie Reyes coming in from State College, Pennsylvania. We had a nice joke about State College. I'm like, whoa, what city are you from? State College, because I guess that's where the State College is. So here we go. Really excited for this. I met Annie recently at the TLC coaching group out in King of Prussia, I believe, out in Pennsylvania, the Philadelphia area. And I had a chance to present to the group and learned a lot about that group. So we'll talk about TLC sometime during this interview today, I guarantee you. We're going to talk about I always ask my guests, like, what are a couple things you would like to touch on during this interview besides the questions I send over? And supporting Chiro Hustle is one of the things that Annie says. So thank you for that. I really appreciate that nod of confidence. But we're going to talk about your practice too, and the potential of chiropractic and some of the people that helped you get to where you are today. And I think that's really cool. Plus, Dr. Annie practices with her husband. So we're going to talk about dynamics of practicing with your partner a little bit too. And she is an AK practitioner. So we're going to talk about applied kinesiology and that it does have some philosophy attached to it. So with all that, I'll just let everybody know our big why, and I'll go through it as fast as possible. Why do we do what we do at Chiro Hustle? Well, freedom of speech is important. So this show protects and promotes and really it gives chiropractic a voice. And I think that that's really important for this world that has a lot of misinformation attached to it. So this is all truth. This is all chiropractic. And we do promote freedom of speech through this show. Family health freedom and medical freedom, they're so important. And I wish I could have a show I didn't have to talk about these things at the beginning because so many people are confused. So if you're looking for family freedom and family health freedom, medical freedom, reach out to a chiropractor. They're going to give you the guidance that you need to make sure you're making the right choices for your family for all their healthcare needs. I was talking to a chiropractor a few years ago, and they're like, hey, we think chiropractic should be port of entry for all cases when it comes to people needing health and guidance. And I said, great, well, let's go that direction. So this is a direction I still think chiropractic is going into, to be able to refer out if not first, but have that network that people can work in, a doctor community to where actually there's stuff getting positive effects are happening for the patient. I know I'm long-winded. I said it'd be fast, but we do support subluxation-based chiropractic, BJ Palmer's innate intelligence. We believe that the sacred trust is so important to this profession too. So those are BJ Palmer's last words. If you don't know what that is, go and search for it. You'll find out more about chiropractic than you previously did, even if you watched it before, and even if you read it before. The sacred trust is vital to the profession. So we believe that when man or woman, the physical gets adjusted, it connects them to man or woman, the spiritual. And with that, Dr. Annie, thank you for being on our show.
Well, thank you for having this opportunity. I'm really happy to be here. And like I posted today, share the love.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into promoting and protecting this profession, as you know.
Absolutely.
And you coming from a rugby background, which I think is really cool too. How did you get introduced to chiropractic?
Well, when I was in high school, I had a number of injuries due to rugby that brought me to a place where I wasn't really able to eat enough. My stomach was in spasm all the time. It was just a pretty bad situation. So I went to my primary care physician, like, most people do. And they were like, oh, we need to do all this testing. And, until we get that done, you're going to start these medications. And I was like, wait a minute. You don't even know what's wrong with me. Like, why am I taking this medication? So my mom told me that I should go see her chiropractor. And back then I was like, well, why would I see a chiropractor for a stomach issue? And I did. And it literally saved my life and brought me to where I am.
Yeah, I think that's really important for people to know, that it's the nerve pathway that gets corrected. And the
Right.
nerve pathway, I had a conversation with a functional medicine doctor earlier, and I said the nerve pathway goes to the glandular system, the thyroid. It goes to the lymph system. A lot of people get cancers in lymphs, stomach cancers, in our organs. So
Right.
the nerve pathways that go through the spine that stop the body from functioning the way it's supposed to need to be addressed as like the primary. It just goes back to, like, if you didn't have any tools or any diagnosis, you would find out where something wasn't moving right, and then
Right.
you try to get it to move right. So that's the beautiful thing about applied kinesiology, and the beautiful thing about checking people for subluxation is you can find out where something's not moving right. That has a direct downstream effect on a young athlete's career because their gut health, and it's not working. And then they're like, well, why would I go for that? But the miracle is the adjustment that you didn't expect for it to do what it did.
Right. I was like, that's cool. I want to do that. And it was just as simple as that.
And it doesn't have to be oversold or over talked about. It just has to be, what are you doing for this? Have you ever considered chiropractic? And then go do it and see what happens. And I think that if more people knew that there was a somatic chart that could be associated with, I've done hundreds of screenings, but symptoms sell. So if you could associate with symptomatology to where the organ system is, people get a lot more interested in taking care of their health.
Yeah, it's awesome. We're experiencing that right now for, the holidays. We're doing the 12 days of health on our whiteboard that we have that patients always see when they come in. And our front desk CA has been picking different segments of the spine, different nerve roots, and writing, where they go, what it does, what symptoms you might have if there's a subluxation. So people have been asking lots of great questions.
Well, it's important for people to know, a lot of times when I'm talking to a guy and they're like, hey, I have neck pain, and I'm like, okay, well, do you know where that's going to? Or I have arm pain. I'm like, do you know what else that's dealing with? And then I can tell them the significance of getting their spine checked and doing some x-rays and seeing what's going on. Or if they have low back issues, I'm like, hey, do you know what that affects? And they're really curious when they know that they're having some type of symptom that they don't want to talk about.
Right.
And then they're like, so a chiropractor could help with that?
Oh, that's a chiropractic issue, even though it's not my neck or my back.
Yes. But I think what you're doing inside of your office and what chiropractors are doing outside their offices, there has to be a common communication to people to let them know that it's for them too.
Right.
Like chiropractic is for you too. So let's talk about your practice a little bit. You said you started back in 2016.
Yep.
And started coaching with TLC in 2017.
Right.
What were some things that you were doing that you found that were challenging, and how did you correct those?
Well, starting a business. that was a challenging thing. You know, school teaches you to be really clinically sound, you know, checks all the boxes when it comes to being able to pass boards and be a great clinician. But as far as bringing patients into your office and, you know, retention and sharing the message of chiropractic, sharing the truth, at the school we went to, we did not use the word subluxation. So, you know, the challenge was we were taught to treat people in a pain-based model. And there are chiropractors who do that. It's not the philosophy that we follow, which I think is part of the challenge in the profession right now, is there's this disconnect between what is chiropractic, what do we utilize it for. But, you know, one of the big values of us being in TLC was, you know, they recognize the importance of the home life, the importance of the relationships in and outside of the practice, and how that then builds what's happening in the practice, as well as the philosophy of chiropractic of, you know, healing happens from the inside out. It is not a pain. It is not a symptom resolution, a drugless healthcare or pain care. It is healing from the inside out and having this totally different, you know, mindset and paradigm shift into what's possible in your health and in your life.
Well, I think it's really honest, that message. And I think that if more people like actually had access to this knowledge, they would understand chiropractic.
Right.
And, you know, me growing up in Davenport, Iowa, like I didn't understand chiropractic, you know, so we can't just like assume that people understand what this profession has the impact of doing. And I think that that's a huge translator for all of us. Like, who do you spend your time with? Who is helping you understand, like, when you finish school with what they've set you up with to where you actually go to practice? And is that the practice that you're proud of?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think we talked about that a little bit earlier, is like, how do you like go into like the professional like world and know who to coach with or what type of practice you want to run? So was it helpful working with TLC on those aspects too, to know like the direction for practice you wanted to run?
You know, we've always wanted to help people not only, you know, get better, but also stay in a much better place with their health. And honestly, coming out of school, we just didn't know how to do that. So yeah, having this more vitalistic model of being able to share, you know, this is what you originally thought was possible. But honestly, when people are in pain, they have this, you know, such a narrow view of what's possible for them. But when they see this possibility, when they're having less symptoms, when they're functioning much better, then this funnel opens up and they're like, oh my gosh, you know, anything is possible for me.
So learning that model, going into that type of practice style, now you work with your husband. What's that like? Because I know that I think Dean and Jen practice together, right?
Right. Yep.
So you're learning from coaches that are similar to you.
Right.
What's it like to go to work every day with your husband?
Well, it's really funny that you asked that, because just recently we've been like, in the morning, we're like, all right, see you tonight. we go to the same practice. You know, we have the same team that we work with, but, you know, truthfully, we don't see each other that much during the day, which is, it's great. You know, I mean, we see each other visually, but it's not like we're interacting on a constant basis just because we're in the same place. So a lot of it is, you know, we are still constantly learning how to have those boundaries between, you know, office life and, you know, office and team stuff that come up versus, you know, our home life, our relationship, our marriage. So it's definitely you know, it's always a work in process.
Well, I think it's also really cool that
Yeah.
busy people can find that work-life balance.
Yeah.
And I think that that's really great is it's you guys get a chance to grow the personal relationship and the business, and you have people that focus on that, like having a
Right.
healthy family structure, having a
Hmm.
healthy business structure. So when you have good guidance and when you have good procedures, it's always better.
Yeah. And the great thing about it for us is it really instills the fact that chiropractic is not our, it's not our business, it's not our job, it's our lifestyle. So when people see that we're living the same way that we're teaching, it's that much more powerful.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. So let's talk about you a little bit more, the practitioner. Um, it looks like you have some hobbies. Looks like you're into CrossFit, and it looks like you have some dogs.
Yeah. Yep. We sure
um,
do.
let's talk about training and keeping yourself healthy. And I don't know. I think dogs are cool. Let's talk about the dogs too.
Yeah. We just added a third since I filled out that little survey. Um, so yeah, I mean, I have always been into working out. I mean, whether it's casual for a team, I played rugby in high school and then at Penn State in college and then afterwards as well. So I've always loved exercise. I've always loved like working hard, challenging myself. And one thing I found out when I started CrossFit in, I think, 2018 maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's right. Is that CrossFit is kind of like rugby without tackling and contact. So it really attracted me to keep coming back. And I've just been really enjoying it ever since and changing up my training and finding new ways to challenge myself and, encourage other people in the process. So that's where I am right now with training.
I mean, I think everybody should find something that works for them and stick with it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's cool when I get people's bios and I can read through them and see things. And, everybody has such a unique path that they're on. And
Right.
chiropractic is really the theme of the show, but the person is really important too. So tell me about the dogs. You have 3 of them now.
We have 3 dogs. Yep. We just got a puppy a couple weeks ago. She's 10 weeks now. So, yeah, they're just, you know what? They're so great. They're a constant reminder of just living in the moment. They don't plan, they don't stress, they don't, think about, oh, what am I going to do tomorrow or what happened yesterday? They're just here for it. They're present. And all 3 of them are pit bull mixes. And, I guess more in the past, but some now they definitely get a bad rap, but they are the product of their, upbringing in their environment, and they are awesome.
So are these bring dogs to work dogs, or are these dogs that don't come to work with you?
They don't come to work. The puppy might if, we kind of get her in the groove of doing that early on. But, they love people. They love people too much. So I don't know if that would work.
Gotcha. Because I know I've been to some practices and there's like practice dogs.
Yeah, they're not the dogs that will just lay on the floor next to the table and hang out.
Cool. So I know you wanted to really touch on some people that have helped mentor you and helped get you to where you are in your career.
Yeah.
Some heroes that have helped guide you along. So who would those people be?
Oh boy. Okay. So I told you there were a lot of coaches in my past who, and yeah, so we'll start with, when I was playing rugby in college, I didn't have, like right away, I didn't really have a direction. Like I knew I wanted to be a chiropractor, but school was just not really on my radar. It was really easy for me in high school. And then the first part of college, things started dropping off. And so a couple of my rugby coaches, they really believed in me. They really saw potential in me. And so they they took me under their wing, and they really just decided that they were going to help me do something better than what I was doing. And so that alone, while it didn't seem like a big deal at the time, because I was young, I was in college, all I cared about was rugby. So it just didn't seem like a big deal. But when I look back at it now, I was like, if they were not there in the capacity that they were, I would not be where I am. So that was definitely my first memory of having a coach that really was a coach that really did something different. So, and another one of my big heroes in chiropractic school, she was one of our professors. She taught chiropractic philosophy, pretty much the only one who did. And at the time, she seemed, a little strange and just different than all the other professors. And when I was in, I think, 5th trimester, she passed away of a heart attack. And at her, we had a little celebration of life at the school. And just the things that people said about her, you could really understand why she was such a great chiropractor. Like, her heart was open to anyone who was willing to hear it. And she really was just such a well-rounded person, and she inspired me in so many ways. So I'm so thankful that I got to have her as a teacher and as a mentor and as someone who affected me in this huge way that I didn't even know about at the time.
A lot of times we don't really have clarity, and we sometimes don't understand that we should be more thankful in those moments until we have the reminiscence of saying, oh gosh, that was impactful.
Yeah.
And I just urge anybody watching that watches this on replay, that listens to this, reach out to those people. Like, send them a quick text message. Handwritten letters don't suck. Like, reach out to these people and say thank you, because I think anytime that somebody reaches out to me and they take that action, gosh, that changes the whole tempo of my day and my life, and my energy changes. It shifts me, and people don't know how much we have an impact on them. Sometimes we're hard on people, but they appreciate that later. Sometimes stuff was hard on us and somebody helped us through it, and we appreciate that later. So we never know what our standard is and our technique is, but I would just say everybody reach out to 5 people that matter, because it is the holiday season, and people love to hear from you. So I think that that's a really good initiative for people too. And, we don't want to have that heart attack happen and not have opportunity to actually tell that person what they did for us. So if you have people out there, do that. And thank you for sharing that. I know, there's a lot of emotion that goes into, bringing up stories of people that made an impact on us that aren't here anymore.
Right.
Were you complete with that?
Yeah. I just wanted to share that, because just like what you said, there's a lot of value in, really being present for those moments, even if you don't think they're going to affect you in any way. Just like being there for it, and, just recognizing the fact that maybe this is a big moment. Maybe I should be more aware of how this can affect and impact my future.
You made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. This episode is brought to you by Chiro HD, Evo Creative Media, 100% Chiropractic, Chiro Health USA, Imaging Services, Chiro Moguls, New Patients in a Box, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, Life Chiropractic College West, pro hockey chiros, pro baseball chiros, and the IFCO. You can benefit from our full list of sponsors by visiting our sponsor page at chirohustle.com/sponsors. Links in the description. Now let's hustle.
I think one of the most important things that anybody could ever say on a day-to-day basis is thank you.
Yeah.
It might not sound as deep and genuine as we might want to come across, but thank you is so valuable. Even when you have nothing else to say, like saying thank you to people really matters.
It does.
And I'm sure you get a lot of that from patients. They don't know how to express themselves. Some send a review. Some will high five you and hug you and tell everybody about you. But there's a lot of people that just don't know how to have self-expression, and a thank you goes a long way.
Yeah. Yep, we see that a lot. And when Nate gets flowing better, it comes out a lot easier.
Yeah. And I think that's the truth of chiropractic is it's not just about the pain game or the brain game. It's about the development of the process of energy and the abundance that shifts when people start to actually adapt and transition from where they were to what a chiropractic lifestyle provides to them.
Right.
And it is really cool to see that. I mean, I think that I worked in a clinic for almost 6 years, and I saw people, I can't tell you around this time of the year how many people brought us cookies and cakes and all the stuff we shouldn't eat.
All the stuff that you're like, I don't know what to do with this because I don't eat it.
And before you know it, you have like a whole back office that's just full of confectionery items and treats. And that alone tells me that chiropractic does a good job.
Yeah. So if you bake me a cake, I'm not going to eat it, but thank you. I mean, I would never say that, but it's really like, all those times we talked about how sugar is not good for you. Bring me a bag of beef or something like that.
I'll tell you, I probably sampled too many when I worked in the clinic. So
it happens.
And it's just the way it is. So let's talk your views on the future. How, you being a practitioner, you're about to be, was it 10 years, 9 years practice?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So you've seen a lot change in the past 9 years.
Yeah.
Where do you see it when you're actually in the profession for 30 years?
Oh my gosh. Well, this could go a lot of different ways, but one thing I want to say is that we have a pretty hefty goal of raising up a whole bunch of chiropractors during the time that we're in practice, like good ones, like ones that are saving lives, not just collecting insurance checks and getting rid of pain for people, but ones that are changing the world with what they're doing. So we have a couple en route right now in school, a couple more on their way to school, and there will be others because we have the opportunity to have a lot of interns coming in from Penn State University in the kinesiology program. And if they have even just a hint of interest in chiropractic, or even if they don't, we're like, what if you went to chiropractic school? What would that be like? Do you even know what it is? Come shadow us, come see what we do. And most of the ones who do that, they at least end up having a lot more questions about why they didn't learn about chiropractic while they were in undergrad. So we have a big, hefty goal there. And, where is the profession going? There's so much potential there, but we have to be bold. Like, we can't be playing small, just thinking that, I'm just in my practice, I'm just going to do my practice stuff. Like, no, we have to stop. Like, we have to think way bigger and way outside the box.
Well, I was just discussing this, and it's like the Martin Luther King Jr. method. Is one person can change the world. We look back on time, then we think about like the massive figureheads in chiropractic: D.D. Palmer, B.J. Palmer, Reggie Gold, Jim Sigafus, big names, Sid Williams, Lyle Sherman, like some of the big names that actually transitioned this profession to where it is today.
Right.
Like, one of those people started a college. One of those people started the transition of how chiropractic was integrated into society. So there are going to be people that come over the next 20 years that you're going to have influence with that might be that one. You know, the chiropractic Jedis are being born.
Yeah. I mean, it's real. And I truly believe that those of us who went through COVID and all that weird stuff that brought, and are out on the other side, seeing how much more people are driven toward preventative healthcare and staying out of the system completely and doing everything they can to do that. It's such a great step in the right direction. And all we have to do is not screw it up.
I bet you that more people, if you said, do you ever want to go to the doctor again? They would never raise their hand. But if you said, would you consider going to the chiropractor? They'd probably say, okay. Because there's more of an openness. Once somebody's abused in a system, they're like, no way. And I feel like that's what people got to experience during that era of our life, was a massive amount of just complete abuse. And people are now like, I'd probably never go to a doctor for anything unless I was dying. And that's a problem too. But now if you say, hey, how about a chiropractor? They're like, you know, I would probably rather go to one of those people.
Right.
And I don't know really what they do, but I know they don't do the other stuff, and they're doctors. Yep. So yeah, let's try that. So yeah, you're right. There is a golden moment right now.
Yeah, it's time.
So 9 years of practice, and it's time for chiropractic to get more mainstream. Tell us a miracle story, and how have you seen people's lives change? I know that chiropractors always say, oh, we see one every day. But what's one that really stands out to you that like gives you like energy to just know that what you're doing is helping save lives, like you say?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to be a little cliche because I believe that anytime someone walks into a chiropractic office, it's a miracle. All the hoops they have to jump through, all the naysayers that they have to deny of their recommendation. Like, hey, if you're going to walk in the office and be open to something different, it's a miracle. And I wanted to really think about this question because I think my greatest miracle stories are kids who had significant vaccine injuries. Yep, I said it. And, deficits because of it. Whether it's developing tics, whether it's, having setbacks in their development, and chiropractic set them back on the right pathway. Like, it's just, I have 3 children that I'm thinking of right now who we've helped over the last 5 or 6 years. And one of the little girls, she was, I think, 4 when she first came in. I literally thought that there was a possibility that she was possessed by the devil. Like, she was awful. Her brain was just not, making any kind of connections that made sense to her. And my heart just like broke for her and for her family. And through chiropractic care, she was completely changed. And something like that, that was in my first few years of practice that I got to see that. And I just, I had to take a step back and realize like what it is that we do and how profound it is.
I was at an event yesterday working with teachers, and I talked to this teacher that just had a kid, and I was like, if people knew how valuable it was to have kids that slept and didn't have neurological deficit and actually were getting adjusted by a chiropractor, how their marriages would be stronger, how they wouldn't have to complain about sleeping 3 hours a night and living on caffeine, how they would actually have time to like take a shower and like take care of their personal hygiene and the health of their home life, like just doing the basics. I was like, if you guys just knew, like if you had a healthy child, how important this chiropractic would be to your entire family, you wouldn't go without it.
No. If they knew what we know, and they could know what we know, but we have to say what we know and tell the truth about what's possible.
Cool thing is she invested in herself. She decided to schedule her first visit with us.
Nice.
And I was really excited because now she's going to have a chance to bring her family in. And obviously, everybody that watches our show knows that women are the decision makers of the health decisions for a family. And even if it's a family, it's just a single mother, they're making all the decisions for the kids. So I think it's really important for people to get these takeaways, to know that, women are the decision makers. So if you can focus on delivering good, nurturing care to that family through the woman first, she's going to bring her whole family in eventually. The kids are in rugby, they're coming in. The husband does whatever he does, and he's coming in eventually, probably 3 years down the line, but he'll come. But that's the cool thing about what you guys do as a profession, is it allows people to get somebody that cares about them at the end of the day. And the family is very important. As we started out our interview today, we were talking about how having the right coach that does the right things, that speaks the right language, helps focus on better things like family first. And I think that if people thought about chiropractic as keeping the family unit stronger, like I said, they would not go without it. It'd be something that would be non-conditional, cutting out of any budget. And it would be something that people would really focus their attention on, and really not be confused in thinking that health insurance should cover chiropractic. I think that if people just knew that chiropractic was a cash-based business, there would be so much better results for people, because there would be no confusion too. So
chiropractic is your health insurance.
It is. And that's just it. That's what people need to hear, is because chiropractic is your health insurance, but it's not going to be the same if you think a third party payer is providing it to you. Like when you bring it out your card and you swipe your card, your personal card, and you pay with your dollars, your real money, like the care transitions different between the patient, and then your PVAs go up, and people actually really respect what they invest into at that point. So I think just understanding the cash model versus the insurance model, like there's an energetic part of it. There's so much energy that goes into understanding, I actually am paying for my family to have a healthier future and today, and I don't have to rely on sick care.
Right. And there's a certain responsibility that takes place there, and an accountability. It's really helping them to understand, like, this is your choice and this is your potential that you're working with. And the choices that you make based on this are going to make or break your overall health picture. So it's the responsibility aspect that I love about doing it that way.
I think that obviously people are going to want to do, if they're injured and there's a way that they can go in and get care through a reimbursement with a major accident or something, they're going to go that route.
Sure.
And I think chiropractors are going to take those cases, but I don't think that should be the standard of care when it comes to the day-and-day type of patient that you see. I think that there's specific types of cases that are going to come into the market, but I also think that you have to keep a barrier or a hard line to say, look, I know those cases exist, we don't practice that way. We
Mhm.
practice this way. And I think it sounds really fun until that becomes your practice model.
Yeah.
So we're at the edge of our time today. Is there anything I didn't ask you that you would like to share with our audience before we call tonight?
I don't think so. I mean, I so appreciate that you're doing this. And my husband and I both love listening to this podcast, even on like a Monday morning when we want like a little extra boost before we start a big week, like Chiro Hustle's on. And so thank you.
Well, it's an honor to host the show that, this past month we had 60,000 people listen to it.
Cool.
And to say that that's not making a global impact by sharing these stories of chiropractic, we're just going to keep on figuring out new ways, and I think that getting that thank you from people that are on our show, it matters. And it matters to your people. It matters to the other, 594 people that we've interviewed in the past 6.5 years. It matters to their community. It matters to their message. It matters to the future of this profession. So if I have anything to do with it over the next 20 years, we're going to have a stronger message behind the brand of chiropractic that there will always be a default to. Like I've always said that because of the work that we're doing, they'll never be able to come in and change the language of chiropractic or the truth of chiropractic because we've documented it.
Right.
And that's the cool thing about having a depository of content and information that's SEO generated, that you can go and find all of the truth behind the chiropractors. Like it's like you said earlier, there's nothing greater than testimonial, but there's nothing greater than the truth, which becomes the testimonial.
Right.
And getting to a place without planning to go that way, it's kind of like you going back and saying thank you to the people that helped you get to where you go and you didn't realize the impact at that time.
Right.
I just look at the future. There'll be a huge time when information technology and information gathering and batching of content will be something that helps stabilize the truth of chiropractic long term. So if this does anything for that, I'm all for it. If people want to reach out and connect with you, where do we send them to?
Email's great. It's Dr. Dr. Reyes, Reyes, Chiro, Chiro @gmail.com. And you can check out our website. It's Reyes Active Body Chiropractic.com.
Reyes Active Body Chiropractic.com. All right, Annie. Thanks for being 595 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. Send her an email if you want to connect, Dr. Reyes Chiro @gmail.com. And just really appreciate you spending some time with me. And I'll close out by telling everybody you're just one story away. Keep hustling. And Dr. Annie, look forward to connect with you soon.
Sounds great. Thank you so much.
All right. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye for now.
Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.